Hi, level 3 students, welcome back. We're moving towards the end of the semester, and this time of year is when we really try to be as formal as possible. And because of that, today we're going to be looking at how to write a formal email. Did we do that already? Okay, so let's just look at that. How to write a formal email. This is what you will be able to do by the end of this lesson. It's gonna be a very short one because it's kind of a well, there will be a little review. For example, this next slide is just a little review. Let's look at informal versus formal. Like we said in a previous class, you know that informal allows contraction, formal does not allow contractions. For example, if I say didn't when I'm speaking casually, when I'm in my day-to-day speech, when I'm speaking naturally, I can say didn't, but I can't do that if I'm writing something formal to someone important. I have to say did not. And formal uses idioms. For example, I can say I've been under the weather lately. That means I've been sick. We've been under the weather. Most of the people in the world lately actually have been under the weather. They've been coming down with fever, and the cold, and sometimes even the flu and even pneumonia. Sometimes it's because of the coronavirus. This is what has been happening lately. People have been under the weather and they have been coming down with all sorts of diseases. This is very natural to say if you're using informal um, uh, writing. You see, idioms, we use that when we speak naturally, but you can't do that. You can't use idioms when you're using formal writing. I can't say I have been under the weather or I have been coming down with something. I can't say that if I'm trying to be formal. And we don't use phrasal verbs in formal letter, in formal writing. Formal language doesn't admit phrasal verbs. I can't say find out. I have to say discover. I can't say go up. I have to say something like increase. And informal allows imperatives. For example, I can write you an email and I say send it soon, but it's gonna come across as very rude if I do that. And informal writing, I should say you may send it at your earliest convenience. This is just an example of how I could sound formal if I wanted to say the same thing. Now let's move on. Informal also uses words like very, really, totally. You can't do that if you are writing formally. Instead of using one of these, it's better to say strongly. I strongly recommend that you do not use totally if you are writing a formal email. And informal, I can use words like to top it all off, on top of it all. To top it all off means things were bad enough, but things have gotten worse. And to top it all off, this is what happened. And on top of it all means I was saying a lot. I was telling you, I was breaking some news to you, and then um, I'm gonna say one last thing, and I say on top of it all. But these two are kind of idioms too, but you can't use things like that in formal writing. You should say furthermore instead of to top it all off, or moreover instead of on top of it all. And these two things, these things, they really mean end. It's another way to say end. You can actually say end in formal writing, but because formal writing requires that you sound educated and sophisticated, it's better to use furthermore or moreover instead of end, but you definitely can't use idioms like to top it all off or on top of it all if you want to sound formal. And formal allows contraction, and not contraction, acronyms. For example, you have TV, which is for television. I will give you a list of a lot of informal and formal words that you can use. So let's keep going. Let's keep going down. This exclamation point is completely allowed. It's totally allowed in informal writing. You can also say a lot, but informal writing, no exclamation. Instead of saying a lot, you can say things like much or many. In formal writing, you can say common. You can use common words. What you do is a lot of common words, non-Latin words. But to sound sophisticated when you're writing formally, it's a good idea. It's always a good idea to write Latin-based and uncommon words. You can use a lot of uncommon words. Actually, this doesn't mean that you should try to sound um, unnatural, because you can sound natural even when you are formal. You have to try to use the appropriate word. Don't use a word just because it's uncommon, but it has nothing to do with what you're trying to say. Don't try to avoid doing that. And so let's practice. Let's say you have a problem, and so you will, with this, you will pause your video and then you will try to do it. So this is you writing a letter to someone who is supposed to help you with a problem that you're trying to solve, but you want to sound very formal. So in your letter, what you're going to do is, first you introduce yourself. You will provide all the necessary and relevant information. The second thing is you're explaining the situation, the reason why you're writing. And then the third paragraph is going to be you say what action you want the person to take. What is your request? And in the end, you're closing with the resources. There, in the next slide, I provided a link with some words that you can use. And I would like you to, is that a, I don't think it's a, well, let's see. Oh man, something's wrong. Okay, something's definitely wrong with my slide. And like you know, guys, this is not even a PowerPoint. It's a okay, it's a PDF document that is making my life difficult. All right, so on this page, you have two links to two things that you need. For you have a link to a list of words for informal and formal writing, and then you have another list of words that has uncommon words. You will use them. I will provide the PDF along with the email that I'm going to send with you to you with that, and then you will be using them to do your little practice. And yeah, so thank you guys. This is it. And this is the end of the class. Thank you.